Hey, so you mentioned about the breath. So I keep hearing about the breath. So I know that's important. I've seen people do these poses, so the strength has to be there as well. But you mentioned the eating, not just the eating. Is it a big part of the eating that comes with the healing? And if so, why?
That's a great question. So it is it is what you consume is more than food. What you consume are the people you talk to, the podcasts you listen to, the movies you watch. Like noticing how your environment and the songs you listen to feel. Like when I noticed that I would feel uneasy in a scary movie, I stopped watching scary movies. I noticed that I would feel pessimistic about the world when I watch the news. I stopped watching the news. Like I don't consume things that don't feel good because I learned what does feel good. Like I would never.
Welcome to the We Got Problems podcast with co-hosts Curtis G. Martin, Rhonda L Brown, and Caliph Johnson Sr. The one and only podcast where solutions get discussed to our community's everyday troubles. Each week, you will hear mind-blowing conversations and actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become more effective. We got problems and we got solutions.
All right, you guys, welcome to the show. This is We Got Problems, the podcast. I'm Curtis G. Martin. I'm here with my co-host, Rhonda L Brown.
Hey, everybody.
I'm here with my second co-host, Caliph Johnson Sr.
Peace, y'all. How y'all doing?
And we have a special guest in the house today, Miss Alicia. Miss Alicia, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Ooh, hello out there. My name's Alicia, and I am a believer in world peace through inner peace. That's the mission that I'm on. So I do that through yoga, but more than the physical part, I am a really big fan of the mindset. And I started this practice in a way that really speaks to becoming whole and healed as a person. So that's the perspective that I teach yoga from. And I'm excited to be here. I am ready to share, and I'm excited.
So before becoming the whole and getting you started, what made you start to do yoga?
Ooh, okay, so I went to Rice University, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with that school, but it's like people call it the Harvard of the South. So they make like this big deal. Back in the day, I thought I wanted to be an engineer. That was my lane. And when I got into school, I took like all the hardest classes. I was that person. I was like the super sexy nerd, sitting at the front of the class, taking the notes and like going to do the thing because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So after my freshman year at Rice, I felt so defeated because instead of getting all A's like I was used to, I had like challenging classes and schedule and all of the mindset and everything. I felt like a failure. And my body started to feel tired and break down. Well, plus the drinking and the partying, I woke up one day and everything looked blurrier than usual. Now, I know my glasses are like super cool, but I really need them to see. And I woke up and it was like I really couldn't see. Like I could barely make out my surroundings. And I put my feet on the ground and it was like, ah! It felt like pins and needles shooting up my legs. And I could not walk without excruciating pain with every single step. I go to the bathroom because that's the morning ritual. And I'm also like, what is going on? Let me look in the mirror. My face hurts, everything hurts. And the face that is looking back at me is not this face. It's like double the size, swollen. Long story short, we find out that I'm diagnosed with lupus. And there's like days where I cannot walk. And my doctor told me, hey, you have to work out for 30 minutes a day. So I'm like, cool, I can do this. I'm an overachiever. So I'm like, 30 minutes, I'm going to do longer than that. So I'm finding everything. Working out CrossFit, I tried swimming. My hair was like, I tried everything. Running, and then I got invited to yoga. And I was real scared because people say, oh, you be worshiping the devil in there. I don't know. I'm like, oh, please don't let me go in there. But I really want to try this because nothing else is working for me. and I'm in pain. I'm like pain and numb, back and forth, because they gave me like painkillers, and they're like, yeah, you just take 800 milligrams, whenever you want. Like, okay. So it's just back and forth. I'm telling you, I stepped in the threshold to the room, and this feeling of pleasure like washes over me. I hear the sound in my head like, oh! I look around, I'm like, nobody else hears that? Okay. But I just practiced on my mat. That was my first ever yoga class. And every pose, every breath, it was like, is this my wingspan? Are these my hands? And it changed the way that I saw life. I was so focused on doing outward that I hadn't really gotten the chance to check inward until my body literally made me. And I started going every day from then. And now the rest is history.
Oh, cool.
What are some of the major benefits of yoga?
Ooh, okay. So there's benefits on a whole spectrum. So at the beginning end, for my first stuff that I started to notice, people around me started telling me, oh, Alicia, you've been in such a good mood lately. And I'm like, okay, cool, and then my family, like, Alicia, you've been so nice lately. Okay. And then my coworker is like, Alicia, you've been in such a good mood. And I'm thinking to myself, like, these people don't know each other. So they're not playing with me. Like, am I a bitch? And I really started to realize like the inside of me was changing, because when I didn't feel good, it wasn't easy to be nice. It wasn't easy to be happy and be joyful around people. And so I started noticing that when my body felt good, I could be nicer to the people in the store and the people like that helped me get over road rage. So it's like something as little as not eating McDonald's fries after yoga because my stomach started hurting, but I was just feeling good. Like something little like that, or even big scale, like crying in a yoga pose because I remember being molested as a child and being like, dang, I suppressed that for decades. And like being able to break through some of those things that were holding me back, like, even being scared to say it in public.
Wow, that's deep. Okay, so how's your experience with lupus impacted your work?
Ooh, I feel like it's kept me consistent. And I know that if some people would start something and then quit it and then be like, oh yeah, I used to do that back in the day. Like my body's not allowing that. Like, and if I don't answer when it's just a tap, it gets louder and louder and louder. And my body starts to get stiff. And it's like, no, yoga, let's go. We're doing it. Find a yoga class somewhere in the city and make it happen. And I feel like it also has kept me really appreciative. Because some days I feel like, yeah, let's get it. I'm doing all the things. I'm doing, like you said, I'm doing the most challenging things. I'm doing the things that would quote unquote be scary for, person that wasn't sure. And then other days my body like, nah, we ain't doing all that. You're going to lay here. You're going to take these breaths. You're going to sit right here. We're not doing no stretching, no anything today. And so that has really taught me to also have that same compassion towards my life and people around me. So when I teach classes and there's somebody in there who's, having a challenge, I feel like I can offer them some alternatives because I have experience with consistently having to learn to overcome challenges.
So you mentioned that it helped you with your illness. It helped you with some childhood trauma. What other type of things can yoga help with, and what type of people should come to yoga for maybe that healing?
Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of different types of trauma and experiences. And I feel like I've used the mindfulness and the self-love that I've learned through yoga to help overcome a lot of those. So just in general, challenges, because in a yoga pose, on my yoga mat or not on the mat, just depends on where I am in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I can really internalize like, wow, if I can take a deep breath in this challenge, in this pose that seems so hard, like I'm trying to do this thing and it's like, oh, it hurts. Like, do I need to stay here? If I can take a breath, if I can soften instead of gripping in that physical space, then I can do it anywhere. I can do it in my car when somebody cuts me off instead of, wanting to call them everything but their name. I can take a deep breath there. Or I can take a deep breath in a conversation with my husband when we're not seeing eye to eye. And we've never argued, actually. That's something that I find really, really special to me because everybody in my immediate family has been divorced once or twice. So we can communicate in a way where we feel like we're on a team, because if I notice that our conversation is leading to something that doesn't feel good, yoga has taught me the difference. It's like if you ever tasted something that was so delicious and you go back to eat that same thing and it's like terrible, like you can feel the difference. That's how it is in your body. If you know how it feels to feel good, like bodygasm, like yogasm, okay? Like that's what I'm talking about. Then in a conversation, if you're arguing and it doesn't feel good, you can immediately be aware and say, whoa, honey, I know that, I didn't mean to get to that level. Let's take it into a place where we can actually talk, just you and me, as opposed to feeling like we need to elevate our tone or our volume or whatever. So let's bring it back to a place that feels good, because even though we're disagreeing, I still love you and we're still on the same team. So, and with my dogs, I don't have children, but they be testing my patience. And then I remember when I feel impatient in a yoga pose, I can take a deep breath. When I feel impatient because this puppy just peed and pooped on my floor.
It's always one. It's always going to be at least one that always is going to push you to the limits. Everybody else going to get some sense. It's going to be that one that don't know how to act right.
Oh yeah, so that it's everything. Like I'm the type of person, I feel like I'm trying to find something that yoga is not applicable for. Like sex, okay. I mean, hey, let's
back to the yogisms.
Hey, my husband.
Anyway,
when he get off work, he coming home. I mean, he might have some errands, but he gonna make it home in a reasonable time. Okay.
Hilarious.
So let's say I've been doing yoga for some years and I want to start teaching. How would I go about doing that?
Okay, so I've trained in a lot of places. I've trained in the US, I've trained virtually, I've trained in Thailand. So I would say it really is based off of how you learn the best. So have a teacher that you trust, somebody that you've taken their class before or you've interacted with them before and you just have that intuitive feeling and you're like, wow. Because there's this saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So you have this good feeling, even if you're not an expert. You don't have to have been practicing for over a year to study yoga. In reality, it's actually a little bit better before you develop any bad habits, quote unquote, that you would study and really grasp and comprehend what is a deep breath. Why is this something anatomically beneficial? Why do people do this movement in practice? Why do these types of meditations work for these situations? So you really get to learn it at a high level so that you, in your practice, even if you don't immediately start teaching, let's say, like, for example, before I felt even confident enough to teach people, I would just practice on my own. People always see if I'm on a cruise or if I'm in my house and my husband sees me practicing yoga and just asks me about it, I feel confident sharing about what it is with my family, with my friends, because I studied it. So that's where I would start, is just having that desire to learn more and to go deeper. If you were just cool with like doing it every once in a while and you're not really feel passionate about it, like, then it's not for you. But if you notice that, okay, wow, I've learned some things personally physically, non-physically in my practice, how can I learn more? How can I share this with my mom, with my aunt, with my Grammy? Like, that's what got me into it. Like, my Grammy, she needs a deep breath because she's doing a lot. So that's what really got me passionate about sharing it with others.
So what vision are you working towards with the work you do?
We got no time with that. Okay. So in general, the vision, it aligns with the mission, world peace through inner peace. So for me, I always feel like everybody goes through their own struggles. Many of us have had that rock bottom moment where you make that agreement with God, where you're like, God, we get through this. I promise I will. And for me, it was one of those days where I couldn't walk and I couldn't see and I could just sit there. And I remember there being a very big difference when I first started practicing yoga. But before that, I was like, I don't know how I'm getting over this. Like, people die from lupus. And so like, there's the fear, there's the physical pain, there's the anguish. Like the people around me, they like, you look fine. Like you don't look sick. And so there's like the other parts of it. But I remember being in that communication where it's like, look, God, if we get through this, I promise I will help other people and I will show them how to overcome whatever they're going through. And so this term in my head, world peace through inner peace, world peace through inner peace, it just kept coming up for me. And at first I thought it was because at Rice, I studied international relations. So I always saw myself in diplomacy. Like I love people. It's like, a vibe when we get together with amazing people like y'all. And I realized that if people had the ability to love themselves, healed people heal people. And so I have a vision that our communities practice yoga. People that look like us, people that believe in different things, they get a chance to really practice yoga, which yoga is connection to self. So it's not just the poses, it's not just the eating or the meditating or the communicating with yourself and your loved ones. It's so much of a gelling of all those parts of you. So I really see people learning that and valuing it and it being like a thing, like more than a trend, to the point where countries start to get along better. People start to, I don't know about y'all, but I know people, even my family and friends, will always be like, you too light-skinned to be Black or to be this or to be that. Like if people could love themselves enough, like they would love each other to where, problems that we have today wouldn't even be an issue. Like bullying, like what is that? Like no need to bully if you love yourself, like that type of stuff, like on a big scale to where it hits people and countries.
Hey, so you mentioned about the breath. So I keep hearing about the breath. So I know that's important. I've seen people do these poses, so the strength has to be there as well. But you mentioned the eating, not just the eating. Is it a big part of the eating that comes with the healing? And if so, why?
That's a great question. So it is what you consume. What you consume is more than food. What you consume are the people you talk to, the podcasts you listen to, the movies you watch, like noticing how your environment and the songs you listen to feel. Like when I noticed that I would feel uneasy in a scary movie, I stopped watching scary movies. I noticed that I would feel pessimistic about the world when I watch the news. I stopped watching the news. Like I don't consume things that don't feel good because I learned what does feel good. Like I would never go back to drinking, things that aren't tasty to me because I know what it feels like to taste things that are good and delicious. So, it's so much more. It's not specifically one thing or another. It's about how I interact with my environment and I can make a choice. And even if there's something that happens in that moment, like, this is crazy. So I actually got in a car accident, not recently, but before. And after I started practicing yoga consistently, I got in a car accident and I was like, I'm good. Car's good. No damage. We're good. And in the past, like old Alicia would have been like, oh, and then, oh, and I can't believe, and oh my gosh, do I need to? And like, it's completely unnecessary because doing that doesn't feel good. So not that it's quote unquote bad to do the thing. It's just that I only do the things that feel good. And not that I'm, 100% perfect. I still do things and learn and then say, okay, now I know that thing doesn't feel good. So I'm going to make a different choice next time.
Okay. So do you have any courses or classes available?
Yes. I do a weekly virtual class and it's called Yoga for Health. And in those classes, we do different things, different topics, different themes for the month. And this coming January, we're doing hip flexibility. And so that is something that if you go to, oh man, what's the link for that? Anyways, if you find me on Instagram and you DM me on Instagram at Afro Yoga Queen and you DM me, I'm happy to answer any questions about that. But so that's every week. And then I also teach yoga teachers. So that's separate. People could do that if they think they might be ready. However, if you are interested in that, DM me. Like, I love DMs. It goes down in the DMs.
Okay, so are people able to teach yoga classes after taking your course?
Yes, they get certified and they're able to register with the Yoga Alliance, which is the international organization that regulates yoga teachers all over the world in yoga schools.
And we'll make sure we put it in the show notes as well. So people can. All right. So let's see. So you're an author and have a book. What's the name of your book and what it's about?
All right. So my first book is called Yoga Best Life. Now, it is a workbook, and I actually think I'm going to rename it. So y'all get to learn the previous name. But I think I'm going to rename it to Chakras and Energy for Beginners, or Energy and Chakra for Beginners, because it really is a workbook where you learn about how your body energies really work. Like, have you ever heard of the gut feeling? Like, if you feel, you like have that feeling in your gut, like that's real. That's not made up in your head. There are different ways that we interact with energy. And just because it's not something that you usually would see in every day, people don't really study it or know that much about it. So that is something that's just fascinating to me. One of the reasons why I wear and surround myself with a lot of red. So that's the first book. And then my second book coming out is the Yoga Entrepreneur Workbook. I like workbooks. It's my thing. Like I told y'all, I'm a nerd. So that's how I live my life. So that is specifically for wellness entrepreneurs and getting started and successful so that they can really help the mission to spread world peace through inner peace.
Okay. So why do you think it's important to keep a gratitude journal?
Honestly, I feel like it may not be necessarily a gratitude journal for people. And some people like writing. Some people will never do it because they don't like writing. So whatever method works for you. So if it's writing, if it's saying it out loud, if it's singing it, if it's, thinking it, just think about what you're grateful for. Because when I talked about the feeling good, feeling good is something that is required in order to grow. So a lot of people talk about, New Year's resolutions. Well, part of the reason why it's so powerful is because it's like you got this anticipation. Oh, New Year is coming. So when you start the thing, there's a lot of positive energy. Well, if you don't know how to get positivity consistently, then it's easy to fall off. And then once you stop doing the thing and then you feel bad, and then there's this cycle. Whereas if you have gratitude every day when you first arise and you say, wow, I woke up, or I feel good, or I am happy with my life. I am happy that the sun came up. Whatever it is, then it puts you in a good mood, and you're more likely to work towards your goals. You're more likely to grow. You're more likely to keep your commitments to yourself. And so, even if you can't write it, take time out every day for gratitude. Even if you miss it in the morning, like in the moment where you feel you really need it, like, dang, I need some gratitude right now. And you just, whatever it is in that moment, like, I am so grateful right now that I have some delicious blueberry tea and honey, and it's hitting the spot.
Okay, so do you have an accountability partner or a coach? If so, why?
I have multiple coaches. I have found that I learn best. So that's what something I was saying earlier. I learn best when I have a teacher. And so I have a business coach. I have yoga teachers. I have a financial coach. And so I really feel like Olympians always have coaches. And so I'm like, if I want to compete or perform or experience growth at a high level, it only makes sense for me to emulate the success that some of the most successful people have in the world. They have coaches, they have teachers. So it's like, ding, 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 let's do it.
There we go. How do you balance work life and family life?
Luckily, I really love yoga. So I find a lot of pleasure in it. So for me, I feel like balance, it varies because we're not always balanced in general. Like there's times of focus and there's times of ease and there's times of like shifting from side to side and figuring out what is needed in the moment. And for me, I focus on whatever it is in alignment with the time. So, for example, in wintertime, even if I want to work super, super hard all the time, it doesn't make sense for me because energetically nature is slowing down. And so if I work with nature and I work with astrology and I work with my body energy, then I find that not necessarily balanced word, but that alignment. And that whenever I'm in alignment with the energy around me and in me, then the things that I am doing are more successful. The things that I'm doing are supported. And that's what feels like balance to me, I would say, is to have that connection.
All right, cool.
Okay. So this next part is what we call our rapid fire. So quick 20-second answers, whatever comes to mind first. So what is your why? What makes you do what you do?
So I can live, stay alive.
I love that one. Were there ever times that you thought that this wouldn't work?
Yes.
So what's the most important thing you learned in life?
Pleasure is the best.
If you could turn back the hands of time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
I would say, hey, you lit.
So if you could sit down and have a conversation with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I would love to talk to one of my ancestors, and I would really encourage them to think about their legacy and set me up. So I had to start from scratch.
There we go. So people always talk about investing. What's one place you think we as a community should be investing our money in?
Ooh, I feel like self-sufficiency. Like, if the stock market's crash, I feel like I don't know if I'm supposed to dive deeper, but if everything breaks down and you gotta eat, like, are you taken care of?
There we go.
Okay.
So that's having a garden and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Unless you're gonna be eating grass.
If you could recommend one book, what would it be?
Ooh, I would recommend Yoga Best Life.
Okay. What's the best tip to making our community a better place?
Love yourself.
Oh, that's good. All right. How do you celebrate your wins?
Sometimes I do a little dance. Sometimes, this one is kind of like a bodygasm. And it's a breath technique that everybody can do. So y'all can do it real quick. So bring your hand onto your heart. And you don't
Wait, you want to do it on camera?
Yes. Right here, on your heart. So you take a deep breath in. On your exhale, make like a humming sound. It's like one of those vibrator things, like a massager, but you can do it to yourself.
I like that.
She hit me with the vibrator to myself on my chest, holding my heart. I'll take it. That's what we gonna do.
As long as you holding your chest, huh?
Hold your chest. Hold your chest. Make sure it's your chest you hold. I like that one.
All right, so here's the most important question. How can people find you?
Find me on the gram. I am also building YouTube. So Yoga Queen Academy on YouTube, that's in the works. And it's already there, so you can go and subscribe. Afro Yoga Queen on the gram. DM me. I love DMs. Like I said, it goes down in the DMs. So yes.
You got to get your website going too.
Yes. YogaQueen.org is going to take you, if you're interested in learning more about becoming a yoga teacher and stepping into your leadership role. I have the amazing opportunity to host the yoga, meditation, and emotional alchemy teacher training January 22nd through March 19th in 2023. So if you're interested in that and you happen to be seeing this at the right time, then go to yogaqueen.org. Otherwise, if you're looking to start the practice of doing yoga consistently to take care of yourself and stay alive, yogaqueen.org/yoga for health. So that'll get you into the membership where you get access to recordings and live classes with me and yourself.
There we go. Hey, Rhonda, what's one thing you want to leave the people with?
Like she was saying throughout the whole theme of this interview was change your mindset.
All right,
and not the breathing.
I thought about the breathing. No, the whole thing was about breathing, I think. But Trash, what do you want to leave the people with, my brother?
Man, health is wealth, and this queen is teaching it. Go tap in.
All right, Alicia, what's one thing you want to leave the people with?
It's time.
All right, cool. And I'm going to just say to everybody, sit back, relax, and often breathe to where you can think about what you want to do next, right? Trash, I think we talked about that earlier. Even before this call, we was talking about breathing, right? So if you relax and you breathe, and then you can make better decisions. Hey, you guys, our community have problems, but we also have solutions, and we out. There we go.
From the team at CRC Empire, we want to thank you for listening. To stay connected with us, like, share, and subscribe to the We Got Problems podcast. You can find us on social media platforms at Curtis Martin 247, at Rhonda Wrights Official, and at the_trash_vegan_. We got problems and we got solutions.